Joe.
Blacula.
They go on to say in this piece, they must watch the slaves for anyone that shows that they're sullen, or they have a long face, or they're like they're not going along with the program. Because that one will give us trouble. And then he showed them how to break the black woman. I don't have time to go deep into that, but I have to touch it. See, he said the nature of the woman is to depend on the man. That's right. That's the way God made us. The Holy Quran says he made the male to suffice the need of the female. It is our duty as men to take care of our women and our children. And it is their duty to look to us for that. And whenever we cannot provide for them, we lessen their respect and even admiration for us. So that's the natural way. But the slave master said, no, we want to reverse the nature. How you do that? Listen good. He said, you break a nigger woman and a nigger man like you break a horse. And you make sure when you break that female horse, then the female horse will train the young from herself to eat out of the hand of the one that broke her. He said, well, how do you break the woman's dependence on the black male? How do you break that in her? He said, take a nigger, strong nigger. Excuse me for using that language, but that's the way it's written. That's right. Take a strong nigger and have the nigger woman and the nigger child watch. He said, then take that nigger man and take a horse on one side and a horse on another, and tie a leg and a hand to one horse and a leg and a hand to another, then set the nigger on fire, and the horses will pull the nigger apart in front of the woman and her nigger baby. I want you to hear me good, because this is not something made up. This is something that happened. And you are the victims of that to this very moment. Now watch how this works. They said, once you do that, you take another strong nigger and you beat him with a bullwhip. Don't kill him, but bring him near to death and let her see this. Break him in front of her so that she will know she can't depend on him for protection or for anything, then what you've done, you've frozen her psychologically. And she now knows she can't depend on that man. She has to now be more independent and depend on white man. And then all her children that come from her, she will make them depend on the white man. And all her male children will be weak, and her female children will be strong. She will make the females just like herself independent, and the male will be weak. Now, 300 years later, look at the community.
The eagles have a carcass in the midst of them. Who's the carcass? Who around here is dead? You say, I'm not dead. Yes, this is the remains. Go out there. When you leave here today, you go out there and just stop a moment and look at our people. And look at the condition of our people. And ask yourself, were we once ever a nation? Were we once ever great? Did we ever do anything of value? You've heard people say, our fathers built the pyramids. Our fathers did this. We was great at one time. We ruled the world at one time. Haven't you heard the old folks say that? Is it true? It is? Well, what happened? If it is true and it's not true now, we are not just a people that once ruled and are a notch from the top. You know, when a champion, former champion, gets knocked out by a challenger, he's still the number one challenger. You a former champion that not in the list, on the list at all. Don't even exist. Is that right? Well, what happened? When you are out of existence, that means you're dead. How about the bones? Are they together? You mean the bones aren't together? Are we scattered in an open valley? Are we dry, having no water of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding? Here's the bones. This is the carcass. This is that old hard clod of earth that can't receive the seed. Because we got eyes, but we can't see. We got ears, but the white man's philosophy and religion has filled up our head till we don't want to hear anything that may cause us to think differently than the white man has caused us to think, because it would lay on us too heavy a responsibility. So we'd rather stick our fingers in our ears than hear anything that would make us get up and want to take the responsibility of doing for ourselves. So we have eyes, but we can't see. We got ears, but we can't hear. We got a tongue, but sometimes we're so afraid. On our jobs, everywhere we go, we know something is wrong. We won't speak out against it because we are afraid of repercussions. Child, don't talk like that. Honey, mind your business. Don't get involved. Why? Because you shouldn't? No, because I'm afraid. By means, listen carefully, by means of these operations, the CIA has replaced popular governments with brutal, murderous, U.S.-controlled military dictatorships that torture and kill their own citizens. Whether they involve paramilitary actions, political interventions, propaganda campaigns, or other kinds of deception, covert operations are all designed to benefit the U.S.-based multinational corporations that expropriate or take out the national resources of so-called target countries. These operations hurt the indigenous peoples and eventually the Americans themselves. The disastrous Vietnam War began as a CIA covert operation. He says, you mentioned the Bay of Pigs invasion, which set the stage for the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Bay of Pigs, I'm deviating now from his script. The Bay of Pigs was after they decided to assassinate Fidel Castro and they were unsuccessful. They decided to train those who did not like Castro's regime, arm them and send them to invade Cuba. And the Cubans whipped their backsides and killed them on Cuban soil. And then it was known as the Bay of Pigs disaster for Bobby Kennedy and for John Fitzgerald Kennedy, but it was a CIA operation. Now you wonder why Cuban people, many of them, don't like Reagan? Another less well-known CIA intervention was the overthrow of the Sukarno government in Indonesia in 1966, which was preceded by the murder of 500,000 Indonesians. Now this is the government of America doing this. They are responsible for the murder of over 500,000 Indonesians just to get Sukarno out of power. Earlier in this document, they mention how when the Belgians were pulling out of the Congolese people popularly elected Patrice Lumumba as its leader. It was a democratic thing. But America decided in Washington that they did not want Patrice Lumumba. Why? Patrice Lumumba was a black man for the black people, and he would have turned the wealth of the Congo into the hands of the Congolese people, and America wanted that wealth. The Belgians wanted that wealth. The French wanted that wealth. So they plotted to assassinate the leader of the people, and the United States government was responsible for the murder of Patrice Lumumba. This is why America has been weighed in the balance and is found wanting. You, the American people, do not know what your government is doing, but it is time that you open your eyes, for the government is leading the people to destruction. Mr. McGahee goes on. The United States cannot continue to destroy freedom throughout the world by means of covert operations without ultimately destroying freedom at home. Covert operations violate the rights of all Americans. They allow the president to take actions abroad that the American people would never support. And by imposing strict rules of secrecy The president threatens the constitutionally guaranteed freedoms of the American people. The CIA covert operations are an immediate threat both to the peoples of other nations and to our own way of life. Now, this is an American who worked for the CIA. Now, beloved brothers and sisters, I would like to read to you in the closing minutes of this broadcast something that appeared in Harper's Magazine again in 1984. These are things that you will never read. They will never be printed in the Daily News or the Tribune or any of the dirt sheets that most black folk feed on or the masses of white folk feed on. It won't be printed in the Time magazine or in Newsweek or in U.S. News and World Report. But here's a rundown of some of the CIA operations, and let me read to you just a few of the things that our government has been involved in. In 1963, there was an attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro. It was unsuccessful. In 1963, they organized a military coup to overthrow the government of Juan Bosch, and it was successful. In South Vietnam in 1963, they precipitated the conditions leading to the assassination of Ngo Dinh Diem, the leader of South Vietnam. They were successful in assassinating him. They overthrew the government of Carlos Julio Arosemena in Ecuador. In Iraq, they provided financial and military assistance to Mustafa Barzani to establish an independent Kurdistan. Unsuccessful. In Chile, they provided $20 million to Eduardo Frei to defeat Salvador Allende in elections in 1964. In Uruguay, Peru, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic, they trained police and intelligence personnel in assassination and interrogation techniques to help defeat the opposition in all of these countries. This is America. In the Congo in '64, they provided financial and military assistance to defeat the rebel forces loyal to Patrice Lumumba, and they assassinated Patrice Lumumba. In South Vietnam in 1964, the CIA attempted to eliminate Viet Cong political infrastructure through more than 20,000 assassinations. This is done by the government. Now they're going to try you for murder, try you for robbery, try you for any kind of thing. But who's going to try America for her evil? I say God is present, He is on scene, and He is judging America today. In 1965, organized propaganda campaign to overthrow Sukarno government, to precipitate the conditions leading to the massacre of more than 500,000 communists. In 1967, in Bolivia, they assisted in the capture and the murder of Ernesto Che Guevara, the revolutionary. In Greece, they aided in the overthrow of the government of George Papandreou, and they installed the military government of Colonel George Papadopoulos after the abdication of King Constantine. Not only do they work in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, but they will overthrow governments in Europe if they can, if those governments are not to the liking of the United States government. And this is what you're fighting for. This is when they put a rifle in your hand and send you somewhere to fight. You better be knowing, black man, you're not fighting for no democracy. You're fighting for the rich to keep you in a hell of a poor state. And I warn you, black man, there won't be any tolerance of you overseas fighting for this imperialist kind of government. You know, when my brother Malcolm X was alive, White folks didn't like him. And there's no sense in you thinking that now that he's dead, they like him anymore. But Malcolm's legacy stands. They don't have one living leader to pit against me. They tried it with Reverend Jackson. And they tried it with others. I'm telling you the truth. And it didn't work. So what you gonna do with me now? The IRS is busy working. Can we get him on tax? My friends in the Justice Department and the FBI, they have 100-man squad that watches Farrakhan. Farrakhan watches. There's a scripture in the Bible, they wanted to take Jesus, but they feared the people. That's right. You wise. But see, black folk know that I'm just about the last one that they got. That's right. That's right. And black folk know that the government don't like me. And if I just fall and hit my toe, they're gonna blame the government for it. That's right. That's right. And only God knows what's gonna happen after that. But even if they don't rise, I'm telling you straight up, when Bush comes against me, God will move on Bush. Watch what I tell you. When the government, when y'all get tired of hearing me, and you think that you got power to destroy me, then come on and watch my God tear your behind to pieces. You see? You can't be in America like this without a God. And I'm not talking about your God, I'm talking about my God. That's right. Just like the Jews could talk about the God of Israel, I'm talking about the God of the nation of Islam. And he's not no spook, he's not no spirit, he's a real live man. But he got power over everything. Now you mess with us and see. We don't carry no weapons. We don't need no weapons. God is our rock. He's a living God, a real God. The God that the scripture said would come in the last day. He's walking with us. He's present among us. He's backing me up. Otherwise, I'd have been a dead man a long time ago.
There is not a major city in America with a large black population that doesn't have a toxic waste dump near where the black people live. Carcinogens from toxic waste materials getting into the water. And poor black people don't buy water purifiers. They drink their water from the tap and they wonder why boys 12 and 13 years old developing cancer now. This is not accidental. This is by design. 100 black men in Tuskegee infected with syphilis, the most virulent form of syphilis. Pardon me, it's about 400. know they were being inoculated with syphilis, and they were left free to cohabit with whomever they desired to have sex with. And when they got sick and came back to the clinic for treatment, they were never to be treated for syphilis. Now syphilis and gonorrhea wreck our communities in unprecedented numbers. We are the ones dying from AIDS. Black women and black children, Hispanic women and Hispanic children dying in disproportionate numbers from AIDS. AIDS is not a natural virus. AIDS is a manufactured virus. We didn't manufacture it. Young black men are at risk. The black male is frightening to white male authority. The black male has so much potential power. Power that if the black male were properly taught, properly nurtured, you have a giant in the black male. So feared are our numbers increasing that those in power say we must do something. The white birth rate is declining. The black birth rate is increasing. By the year 2000, the demographers say the birth rate of whites will be at zero population growth, meaning one birth for one death. And they say that if the black birth rate continues unabated, by the year 2083, blacks could very well be equal to or the majority population in America. What do you think a racist mind is thinking? That in less than 100 years we will be the majority. And if there is any coalition between blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans and Asians, then Run, Jesse, Run won't be a slogan in less than 100 years. In less than 100 years, we could be mayors of the major cities, governors of the states. We could be predominant in the Congress. We could run it all so that the scriptures might be fulfilled, that the man that was sold into bondage rose up to become a master in the land in which he was sold as a slave. A white racist does not want to ever see that come to reality. So it is written in the scriptures of the Bible and the Quran, Pharaoh saw the children of Israel multiplying, and he said, "Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, join on to an enemy of ours, and come against us, and remember our evil done to them." So Pharaoh said, "Let us kill all the male children of the children of Israel and spare the female."
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us for nearly 60 years that these planes exist.
You called them unidentified flying objects. They're not that to us. They're referred to in the writings of Ezekiel the prophet as the wheel within a wheel that was seen by Ezekiel in a vision 595 years before Jesus was born. And the Washington Post reported on the front page a few years ago, a Japanese pilot, Captain Kenju Terauchi, who is not crazy, who had been flying planes for nearly 30 years, that he saw this not only on his radar, but he monitored this great wheel for nearly an hour and a half between Asia, the Bering Straits, and Alaska. And he drew a picture which the Washington Post put on the front page, comparing his 747 to this huge mother of planes. He said it looked like two huge aircraft carriers in length, which bore witness to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, because the largest aircraft carrier is about 440 yards, a quarter of a mile, and two of them together would be a half a mile. Now you may say, of course, Elijah Muhammad's dead. How could he speak to you? Since 1981, I have been saying to the world that Elijah Muhammad is not dead. He is alive. I'm saying to the world that Elijah Muhammad is the Messiah that the Quran is speaking of. I am saying to the world what the Quran says of the Messiah. He escaped a death plot against him. Of course, you still may hold on to your thought, Elijah Muhammad is dead. But how could he be dead and he speak to me on the wheel? This is incredible. But remember, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me the plans of the President of the United States of America, and told me it was in the early part of September 1985 that he met with his Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war. He didn't tell me who the war was against, but he told me to make known their plans and tell the world that you got it from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. In that announcement, I said the words that I was instructed to give not only to the world, but to his followers and family. He's alive. He's on the wheel. And he is with Master Farad Muhammad. And he is in power as we speak.
And no man can feel like a real man when his children need shoes and he can't provide it. When his children need education and guidance and he does not know how to give it. When his wife looks to him with this longing look, man, I'm dissatisfied with you. Natural dissatisfaction because we are not fulfilling our natural role that Almighty God has given us to fulfill. We create dissatisfaction in the hearts of our women and our children for us as men. And they turn on us and we don't know why they're turning. They're not turning because they want to turn. They're turning because their nature demands. fulfillment from us, and our nature demands to give it, but without the knowledge we cannot give, she cannot receive. Therefore we have become enemies of one another in the same household. Men are being driven from their homes because they can't fulfill their responsibility. So 60 to 70% of the homes in America are headed by a woman. No man there. He can't stay there because his presence there is destruction to his being. Just looking at his wife going out to work every day, and he can't find a job. It grieves him in the nature in which he's created. So he don't want to be there when you come home, because he don't like being taken out of the role that the God of nature put him in. So he's on the corner because it's easier to be on the corner relating to other failures in men than to be home facing the reality of my failure. It is easy to make a baby, but to stay home and watch a baby needing pampers, needing clothes because they grow so fast, and the price of baby clothing is so high, and the man looks in his pocket and finds no adequate money, no adequate education, no adequate remuneration for whatever he does to make a living. And he gets frustrated. He becomes imbalanced. Then the wife talks out to him. Then he smacks her in her head. Then he looks at his child as a reminder of his failure. Then he becomes abusive to his wife, abusive to his children. So he runs into the streets, because in the streets there's a sanctuary with other men who could not make it, other men who could become a father but didn't have the means to be one. So he's in the pool room, he's in the dope den, he's in the prisons tonight, languishing because he didn't know a father. He became one but didn't know how to be one. And the wives are cursing the memory of his name, cursing the day that they had intercourse, cursing the time of her pain in labor, cursing the child that she produced for him, from him. So death is over the black community. The black community is in need of a savior, a redeemer, a reconciler, a wonderful counselor. The black man needs a father. And so I thank Allah. I thank him night and day for his coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. I thank him. What do you mean he came in the person? The flesh and the blood is that which is limited. It is begotten and it begets. But the wisdom of God is not begotten, nor does it beget. It is not a physical thing. But in Master Farad Muhammad was a body of knowledge, was guidance, and the germ of the true religion. And he gave it to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I grew up without a father. I had a wonderful mother, but no father, no male till I could look to. Till I met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I found a man to be my father in the place of my father. I found a man that even though I was 1,000 miles away from him, I could drink from the fountain of his knowledge to develop me, to nurture me, to foster what the Creator had put within me. So when I stand before the world today, the world got to bear witness. Who is that boy's father?
when the prophet Ezekiel saw this battle in the sky and saw the wheel, the mother plane that would be the victor? This has encouraged us, the black nation, to have confidence in the victory of that wheel, that great mother plane that is above our heads over the United States of America. When the prophet Ezekiel saw the vision of this wheel, the mother plane, Ezekiel became a little excited in his words. Ezekiel said, "Oh, wheel, oh, wheel." And Master Farad Muhammad, our Savior, affirmed it. The wheel, the mothership, is one of the greatest wonders of man in making military weapons. The black scientists knew at the time that they built the mothership under the direction of Master Farad Muhammad, that the mothership and its well-trained crew would have to fight with America and the other nations of the earth. The well-trained crew of the mothership, the wheel, can dodge the enemy and make the enemy look for the wheel where the wheel is not. As the word goes, the crew of the wheel can elude the enemy anywhere in the sky that this crew desires to elude them. So when actual fighting has been declared against the armies of the wicked of this planet, the enemy will never get near enough to do any harm to that wheel. Actually, the mothership, the wheel, serves as a carrier for 1,500 deadly prepared planes with which to visit mankind on planet Earth. Do not look for the wheel, he writes, the mother plane, because it is not out there for you to find it when you are looking for it. Elijah Muhammad writes, I am so happy that Allah God has prepared this unmatchable weapon to save us, the black people of America. It carries supplies for the crew of this made wheel-like plane. It is something to marvel at. The battle in the sky. As the black man has been on the planet Earth for billions and trillions of years, and the black man has been here that long, and there's no doubt about it. Do you think that the black man would allow the made man, the enemy that has been on the planet for only 6,000 years, to outwit the black nation and the God of this nation in any war, whether it be physical or mental? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes, boy, if I were the Caucasian, I would just give up and not try to fight an old ancient people who were here before the father of your people ever thought of making a new people, the Caucasian race.
And the vulgar dances that are the style of the day are now commonplace in the home and accepted. Nobody seems to be speaking to this as the destruction of potential virtue.
Now, some of these men have gotten so sick that a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, what can you do with that? But men are trying to push themselves in a sexual way into a baby, splitting them. Fathers are taking off their daughters, uncles, brothers, cousins, aunts. And now the lesbian craze is in. We are so undervalued now because of our ignorance, our lack of the potential for honor and respect. So a woman says, what the heck do I need a man for? I'll go to the toy store. And to hell with him. And it's not that our women want to be lesbians. That's not their thing. But another woman understands the pain that another woman is going through, being put through in her interaction with men. So when they get tired of the game plan, then they fall on each other and find more comfort in another woman than they find in a man. And I don't care if you call yourself a lesbian. When a real man comes along. No, listen. A real man will awaken that spark in you. And you'll start doing this. Because you are a real woman. A beautiful woman. But a very abused woman.
But I want to say to you that God has chosen the foolish things of the world this time to open a door for you if you would take it, if you're not proud. See, all your scriptures tell you that when God got ready to move on a wicked kingdom, he didn't come to that wicked king or kingdom through their own senators. The advice didn't come from there. The advice came from one of the slaves that the wicked had oppressed. Go read your book. It's all the way through. What do you think it's there for? It's there to tell the modern Pharaoh, Washington, D.C., the modern Rome, modern America, the modern Babylon, America, the modern Sodom and Gomorrah, America, that your doom has now entered your door. And if you want a way out, don't look to your congressmen and your senators. They are as confused as you are. It will come from the mouth of a slave, coming right up out of your bowels. And if you will listen to him, then God may turn mercifully to you and allow you to live out your time. It's a brand new day now. And it's not a day when black people should run around here like chickens with their head cut off. You are the very people that God has chosen in this hour. And you're going to come through adversity and affliction, but you will come out on top. It's written in your Bible from one cover to another. And any scholar or scientist of religion that's here, just give me a few minutes of your time. And we will show you in your book that you say you believe in what you never saw, because the eyes that you have in your schools of theology are the eyes of your slave master and his children, and they never taught you to read the book in a way that you could go and teach it and free your people. This is an hour when black people are losing hope. They're losing hope because their leaders are preaching hopelessness. And the leaders are preaching hopelessness because the leaders' hope was in white people rather than in God and in themselves. Mr. Reagan cannot do any more for you in this serious hour. There's another force in charge. God is after you to get you up. You sing the song, steal away. Steal away to Jesus. Steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. Here where? My God, He calls me. He calls me by the thunder. I hear Him call deep down within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. There's not a black person in this room that is not aware that a call is being made to you. And every time the planes crash and the winds change and the storms come and the rains wash houses out and tornadoes hit, you all know it's a message from a high source that a time is on America. You know this, and you know somehow it's a call being made in your own families. You see your children rising up, looking at their parents and saying to their parents, "Daddy, I'm going to school, but it don't seem like it did anything for you. Why should I go?" Mama dragging the children to revivals, and the children want to know, when will you be revived? I'm very serious. The children are losing faith in religion, faith in religious leadership, losing faith in the church. Not necessarily losing faith in God, but losing faith in our weak representation of a powerful God.
You can have education under a tree.
That's right.
It's the curriculum. It's what you're being taught. It's how you're being taught that will determine whether your education is a quality education, not whether you're sitting down with white children. But of course we want to achieve balance and, Are you balanced yet?
No, sir.
Is going to school with white folk ensure that you're going to be balanced?
No, sir.
You give them too much credit and you give too little credit to what will really develop you. That's why the Million Family March is so important, because to mobilize and to organize and to unify will stop this. If you were united in Charlotte, you could say to the city council, "How you cutting this budget, baby?" And if you're not cutting the budget right, let's talk about that. I got 500,000 people outside that want to know how the budget is being cut. I got some people outside that want quality education. I got some people outside that don't want you spending more money per capita white student than you spend on the black student. We want equal education.
Well, how many did you say was outside?
You don't get what you need because you're so divided against yourself. Anything that you want, you can get it in Charlotte. You can get it in Mississippi. You can get it in Alabama. You can get it in Washington, D.C. There's nobody in America that can deny the unity of 30 to 40 million black people. Nobody. You can bring corporate America to her knees.
That's right.
You can change television programming. You can change the way you're represented in the media. You can do anything you want if only Willie Lynch wasn't the master of our house. The wheel is capable of sitting up above Earth's atmosphere for a whole year before coming down into Earth's atmosphere to take on more oxygen and hydrogen for the crew who are on this mother plane. Oh, he writes, she is a wonderful thing. It also carries supplies for the crew on the wheel. So the wheel also has the power to create its own atmosphere as any other planet is able to do. And by its being able to create its own atmosphere, it is able to go anywhere in space it desires because it is not dependent on power from the earth. On page 240 of The Fall of America, in a section titled Ezekiel's Prophecy of the Wheel, he writes, quote, "Do not marvel at the make of this plane, since it is from the God who made the universe of floating planets and stars, which are supported only by the power of Allah in their rotation in their orbits."
Joe.
Blacula.